My name is Jerry Bowden. I worked at General Motors for 35 years. I worked at the V8 engine plant on Van Slyke Road in Flint, Michigan. I hired in March the 7th, 1965. I remember standing out in the cold and with a line of about 30, 40 guys getting an application. At the time, I worked as a commercial credit as assistant loan manager. And I looked around and I seen that being a loan manager just wouldn't fit for a man with a wife and 2 kids. I remember going out and buying a stove and a refrigerator, a washer and dryer, and paying it off in 90 days. And I thought that was really something, because what I was making as a assistant loan manager at the credit bureau was 3 or 4 times less than what I was making at General Motors. A guy coming off the assembly line or a machine floor or anywhere that had experience and knowledge and was a good worker and could take orders, General Motors would try him out as supervisor. And I remember one day my foreman said, "Hey, go up to labor relations, they want to talk to you." So I went up in labor, and the labor rep took me over to a huge management room that I never seen before. It had this, now you can picture this as executive management room. It had a long sweeping table, and they had guys on the end and all the way down the sides. And you walked in this room, you know, and here's a bunch of stern old guys, you know, they don't smile or nothing. They just give you the dirty look. They have them ice cold looking eyes, you know. That's what you imagine, because you're scared to death when you go in there. I was told the next couple days, I was approached by my foreman, told me to come in wearing a white shirt and tie, and I would start in the program.
You've been doing a good job, and we think you'll make a fine foreman.
I'm certainly going to try to, and thanks for the opportunity.
The V8 engine plant was the largest engine plant in General Motors. The building consisted of 2 million square feet. We employed as high as 6,600 people at one time. As a foreman, you had management on your right and the union on your left, and you were kind of pulled constantly every day in, day in, out. Some General Motors, general supervisors demand perfection. Okay, they demand this, and they want it. And if you got a superintendent that goes along with a general foreman to demand perfection, the foreman better hear about it, because he better adhere to that, because if you don't, your days are numbered in that area. The foreman in the plant, how should I say it, is the priest, he's the mother, he's the finance man, he's everything. He talks to people. People come in my office when I was doing my paperwork at night, and they would come in and they have a problem. I had guys come in and say, "I have a problem with my daughter. My son is running away from home." A woman would come in and say something like, "My husband is, I caught him running around, and I need to go on day shift, you know." I think the 60s were probably, in the early 70s were probably the kind of the rebel years, maybe, I thought, in my career as a supervisor. People would try to get sick leaves, and they really weren't sick. And doctor statements were outrageous. They called a doctor like it was like driving in at McDonald's. He would just open the window up and hand him, for $25, he would hand him a doctor's slip, excusing him from work. These people were taking Mondays off. These people were taking Fridays off. And the old saying in there, you know, you don't buy an engine, you don't buy a car made on Friday or on Monday or the day before deer hunting season or the day after deer hunting season. And deer hunting season used to become the second Christmas in the plant. People would just bail out the door and not come back for a week. Everything was like, get it out the door, hurry up and get it out the door. It was quantity instead of quality. And as the years went by there, I thought that I could see a change coming. Upper management could see a change coming. The people were used to quantity, and then we're switching them to quality, and now you had to stop and look at it and do it right the first time and get everybody in focus. As the years went by, I can remember things. We had little troubles in the plant, like we busted water lines that screw up. We've had a tornado in the plant. As the plant got older, maintenance, it was hard to maintain it. I believe it was in 1992. They had went out, I noticed the skilled trades were installing satellite televisions in every area of the plant, like in the rod job, piston job. The motor assembly line was the largest, and I think they had 4 or 5 of them down there. We wondered what they were doing. And one of these vice presidents come on the television and said that they had made a decision to close the engine plant. People stood up and talked like, what am I going to do? My wife, my children, and everything. The management in the union went down to General Motors in Detroit and asked them what we can do to keep this plant open. And they said, well, one thing you got to do, you got to lower your scrap, you got to do this, you got to bring up your quality, you got to maintain your absenteeism. And they went back and got the people together, everybody, including hourly and salary in that plant. And if we're going to survive, we got to do this and we got to do that. And if you don't care anything about the plant, so be it. And it was amazing turnaround in the plant. It didn't go like that overnight, but over a few years, it started to gel and work. People were conscientious of their jobs. And that was a turnaround for the plant. And lo and behold, they came out back in '95 and said the engine plant would run until the year 2000.
We've known this day was coming for over 7 years, but describe what the last moment was like.
Well, Bill, it was certainly emotional, but the shop floor was also very energized. People cheered. Forklift operators actually sounded their horns. For those who have spent their lives inside the facility, it was a defining moment they will never forget.
It was very sad. I'll never forget it. I think the last day I worked in the plant, I walked around it. And it was very sad because you put 35 of your life in there. You had good days, you had bad days, you know, but the good outweighed the bad, you know. You had a lot of good days. And I think a lot of people were very upset. I seen people crying and stuff.
The last 2 V8s were signed by all of the workers along the line. They marked the end of an era that began 45 years ago and 45 million engines ago. Some of the 1,600 workers here are headed for retirement.
I think at times I was a little frustrated. I figured I wanted to work a couple more years, but I didn't want to travel to another plant. I think if I had only 20 years seniority, yeah, I would have took a job maybe at Romulus or Lake Orient or Pontiac Motor Division. But having 35 years, and they made me an offer along with other people, and I took the offer and left. Yeah, there's a lot of good memories there gone.